Today's pro tips are simple, but they are not easy. But it's wise to still do them anyway. Magandang araw sa iyo. Ako si Maloy Malibiran sa Lumbides. Alam mo, in life and work, ang daming bagay na mahirap gawin. May deadlines na nakaka-pressure, may integrity issues na mas madali sanang i-compromise na lang. May responsibilities na parang ang bigat-bigat. But here's the truth. We don't do things just because they're easy. We do things because they are the right things to do. Let's look at 3 powerful examples from God's Word, the Bible. Una, si Noah. In the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 22, it says, Noah did everything just as God commanded. Imagine building an ark when wala pa namang ulan noong mga panahong iyon. People probably laughed at him. Maaaring pinagtawanan siya, but he obeyed anyway. He finished the ark. Why? Because it was the right thing to do. And lives were saved because he did. Isa pang example, si Daniel. In the book of Daniel, chapter 6, verse 3, it says, Daniel so distinguished himself by his exceptional qualities that the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. Daniel worked under pagan kings. Nariyan si Nebuchadnezzar II, nariyan si Darius the Mede, leaders who did not believe in his God. But Daniel did his job with excellence and integrity. Hindi siya tamad. Hindi rin siya careless. He was excellent. And because of that, the king saw the power of God in his life. Third, and ultimately, our Lord Jesus. In the Gospel of Luke chapter 22 verse 42, ang sabi ni Jesus, Father, if you are willing, take this cup away from me, yet not my will, but yours be done. He knew it. He knew that it would cost him his life. He knew the suffering ahead, but he surrendered. He obeyed. He did the right thing anyway. And because he did, we have salvation. So here are 3 pro tips that I want you to remember today. Pro tip 1, obedience over opinion. People may doubt you, maaaring tuksuhin ka, pagtawanan ka, they may misunderstand you, but if you know it's right before God, do it anyway. Pro tip 2, excellence is a testimony. Your integrity at work is not about performance. It's about witness. Others are affected when you don't do your job well. Your faith shows in your work ethic. And pro tip 3, surrender is strength. Minsan the hardest thing to say is, Lord, not my will, but yours. But true strength is choosing what is right, even when it costs you. Remember, madaling gawin ang convenient. But real character is built when we choose what is right, even when it is difficult. So today, whatever that hard thing is, finish the project. Tell the truth, keep your commitment, lead with integrity. Do it anyway. For pro tips, ako si Maloy Malibiran sa Lumbides. Be a blessing in the workplace today.
DXAS, your community radio, kasama sa araw-araw. Kakwentuhan, kagapay, kaibigan, kabarangay.
This is your community radio, 1116 DXAS, communicating Christ in our world.
Ang oras sa buong Pilipinas, alas 7:06 na ng umaga.
Alamin ang mga kaganapan at mga pinag-uusapan sa Zamba Sulta. Makibalita at makibahagi sa pagbabago at pag-unlad. Oras na, Zamba Sulta!
Isang mapagpalang araw sa lahat ng nakikinig sa 1116 DXAS, your community radio. Good morning, Zamboanga Peninsula. Maayong buntag sa tanan. At syempre, isang magandang umaga po para sa lahat ng ating mga tagapakinig sa radyo at sa Facebook. Good morning, Basilan Sulu at Tawi-Tawi. Welcome back sa ating programang Oras na Zamba Sulta. At syempre, ako po ang inyong lingkod, Sara May Tulabing. Makakasama niyo ako hanggang mamayang alas 8:30 ng umaga para po yan sa isa't kalahating oras ng balitaan, impormasyon at inspirasyon. Kaya naman patuloy ang ating panawagan na kung kayo po ay may mga text o kaya may gusto kayong ipadala na mensahe, greetings, comment, ay ipadala po yan sa 0916-296-6625 o kaya ay mag-send sa comment section dyan sa ating FB page sa 1116 DXAS. Good morning! Ayan, kumusta po kayong lahat ngayong araw ng Tuesday? Yes, February 24, 2026. Ilang araw na lamang, March na. No? Kwanto diyaya lang. Buwan na po ng Marso, talagang ganyan kadali ang ating panahon. So by March, syempre meron tayong mga dapat pinaghahandaan dyan. Diba? Pag limbawa March, alam natin na Fire Prevention Month yan. Kaya ngayon pa lang tayo ay mindful na sa ating mga dapat gawin at hindi dapat gawin dyan sa loob ng ating bahay, sa loob ng ating workplace, at kung saan ka man para hindi magkaroon ng sunog. So good morning! Good morning po sa lahat ng ating mga nanay, tatay, kuya, ate, lolo, lola na nag-aabang at nakikinig sa ating programa everyday dito sa ating programang Oras na Zamba Sulta. Enjoy nyo lang po ang inyong breakfast, ang inyong kape, kung kayo ay nasa inyong sasakyan ngayon at nakikinig. God bless po sa inyong mga lakad ngayon. Laging mag-pray bago umalis ng bahay, di ba? Para smooth lang ang flow ng ating araw. Alam natin ang gagawin kasi hiningi natin ang discernment, ang wisdom mula sa Panginoon. So, good morning. Na-miss ko po kayong lahat. Samahan niyo po ako ngayong araw na ito sa ating programa dahil ngayon po pag-uusapan natin in advance yung tungkol naman sa EDSA Revolution. Bukas po yun, pero ngayon nating pag-uusapan, di ba? Kaya abangan niyo po yan, ano yung wisdom na pwede nating kunin doon sa ating kasaysayan. So, good morning. Good morning sa lahat. At syempre, no, narito naman ang ating weather report.
Weather report.
Easterlies ang umiiral sa bansa at dahil po dyan, magiging maulap ang kalangitan na may kalat-kalat na pag-ulan at pagkulog, pagkidlat sa Zamboanga Peninsula, Basilan, Sulu at Tawi-Tawi dahil nga sa easterlies. Posible po ang mga biglaang pagbaha o pagguho ng lupa tuwing may malalakas na pagkulog at pagkidlat. At dahil dyan, kailangan po natin mag-ingat. Ang ating temperatura para po sa lungsod ng Zamboanga ay tinatayang aabot na sa 25 degrees Celsius hanggang 32 degrees Celsius.
We sing happy birthday to you, and may all your dreams come true. Happy, happy birthday.
February 10, happy birthday! Siyempre sa aking kapatid, sister-in-law na si Hannah Grace Tulabing. Hi Hannah, nakarating ka na ba ng Zamboanga? Happy birthday! Ingat ka, enjoy your day. Nag-advance na kami kagabi. Happy birthday din kay Ding Dong at kay kay late June April Tres Boy. Ayan, happy birthday po. Kay Ding Mercado, BFF. Ayan, happy birthday sa'yo. Good morning. At sa lahat po ng mga nagbe-birthday ngayong araw na ito, happy birthday po sa inyong lahat. And God bless you.
Salita at tanong ngayon.
Ang ating salita ngayong umaga, ayan, ako napakaganda nito. Gustong-gusto natin tong lahat. Ang word na rest. Sa Filipino pa, pahinga. Na Chavacano, descanso. Bisaya ug Ilonggo, pahuway. At sa Tausug naman ay hali. Ayan. Tanong po natin, paano ka nagpapahinga sa kalagitnaan ng kabigatan? Yan, ang ating verse ay makikita sa Matthew 11:28. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Sa Mateo 11:28, lumapit kayo sa akin, kayong lahat na nahihirapan at nabibigatan sa inyong pasanin, at bibigyan ko kayo ng kapahingahan. Alam niyo po, no, ang ating mundo ngayon, parang binibigyan tayo ng pressure. 'Di ba? Lagi tayong binibigyan ng dahilan para magsumikap ng sumikap ng sumikap. Lagi tayong binibigyan ng dahilan para gawin ito at mag-strive hard, maging busy to the point na hindi na natin nababalance ang ating oras, na dapat updated tayo sa lahat ng bagay, sa technology, sa balita, sa mga bagong labas na mga gadgets ba dyan, o mga bagong brand, di ba, mga sasakyan, damit. Lagi yan ang pinipressure sa atin ng mundo. At isa pa dyan, dapat agad-agad mo mabigyan ng solusyon itong problemang ito, lalo na pag ang problema ay sa trabaho, di ba? Tapos bibigyan ka pa ng due date ng iyong boss. Kaya naman minsan, like ngayon, Tuesday pa lang, feeling mo Friday naman. Feeling mo parang isang linggo ka naman. Minsan Monday pa nga lang, parang feeling mo parang pagod naman na. Diba? Wala ka kasing pahinga. And ang ganda ng verse natin ngayon. Kasi, hindi lang physically si Lord nagbibigay ng rest sa atin, inviting us to rest, pero kahit spiritually. Pero dito muna tayo sa physical, 'di ba? Sa panahon na talagang mabigat na ang nararamdaman mo, pagod ka na, gusto mo nang sumuko, why not isurrender mo yan sa Panginoon? Sabi niya nga, and I will give you rest. Hindi po rest in peace ang ibibigay sa inyo ng Panginoon. Ibig sabihin, lahat ng struggle mo, lahat ng kapaguran mo, ay ibigay mo sa Panginoon. Kasi siya lamang ang makakapagbigay ng relief sa atin. Yung mga akala mo, bibigyan ka ng, sasabihin sa'yo ni Lord, huwag ka give up, mag-strive hard ka, work harder. Pag nandyan tayo kay Lord, ang gustong-gusto ni Lord ay isurrender mo sa Kanya ang kabigatan ng iyong puso, ng iyong nararamdaman, ng iyong problema. Diba? It's a gentle call to surrender to God. At kahit doon sa mga siguro nagsasabi, paano ko ba mapiplease si Lord? Paano ba ako makasiguro na talagang pag judgment day na safe ako? Kailangan ko ba mag-work hard? No. Kalma lang, hindi mo kailangan gumawa ng kabutihan para makuha mo ang salvation, para makuha mo yung eternal life. Kailangan mo lang maniwala, mag-surrender sa Panginoon, ibigay mo sa Kanya ang iyong buhay, ang iyong puso, maniwala ka sa Kanya as Lord and Savior, at yung gusto mong gawin na good works ay susunod yun bilang fruit, na yun ang gagawin mo dahil yun ang gustong ipagawa sa'yo ng Panginoon. Dahil anak Kanya, hindi para maging save ka, Kasi kung may good works na gumawa na para maging saved, si Jesus na ang gumawa ng good work para sa atin. Siya na ang nagsakripisyo na matay. At ang kailangan na lang natin gawin ay maniwala sa Kanya. Kaya naman po, sa panahon na ikaw ay pagod spiritually, pagod ka physically, ang kailangan mong gawin ay syempre, 'di ba? Mag-surrender sa Panginoon kasi 'yun ang ibig niyang sabihin ng sinabi niya, lumapit kayo sa akin, kayong lahat na nahihirapan at nabibigatan sa inyong pasanin at bibigyan ko kayo ng kapahingahan. Bibigyan niya tayo ng rest, 'di ba? Saan ka pa? Makakakita ka ba ng isang Diyos na nagsasabi, surrender ba sa akin lahat? Kung tao pa yan, ba't mo ibibigay sa akin ang problema mo? May problema rin ako. Pero si Lord kaya niyang i-handle lahat. Magsabay-sabay man tayong lahat. Hindi natin pwedeng sabihin, siya na lang mauna Lord, baka hindi mo kaya. Kaya ng Panginoon. Kahit magsabay-sabay pa tayo naman surrender, gustong-gusto niya pa yan. Kasi we acknowledge na siya lamang ang makapangyarihan, na kaya niya yan. Diba? We acknowledge na siya ang ating Savior sa lahat ng bagay. Kaya naman po, today, take a moment to breathe and remember that you are loved. Hindi ka nag-iisa, no? May Diyos na laging nandyan para sa atin. Yung rest natin, hindi rin po yan waste of time. Ibigay natin yan sa Panginoon. It is an act of trust in the one who never tires. Kaya naman po, ang ating tanong muli, paano ka nagpapahinga sa kalagitnaan ng kabigatan mo sa buhay? Yan ang ating salita at tanong ngayon.
Mga gawang kabutihan para sa bayan. Marapat ipamalita yan. Mabati ang mabuti.
Sa gitna ng kakapusan, mas nangingibabaw ang pagmamahal. Sa isang ordinaryong araw sa loob ng butika, isang simpleng tagpo ang naging patunay na buhay ang malasakit sa gitna ng kahirapan. Isang lalaki ang dumating upang bumili ng antibiotic para sa kanyang asawa na bagong labas ng ospital. Kailangan niya ito upang tuluyang gumaling ang kanyang asawa, ngunit siya ay kapos sa pera. Sa halip na mawalan ng pag-asa, buong pagpapakumbaba siyang nakiusap, naiwan muna ang kanyang ID bilang pangako na babayaran ang gamot kinabukasan kapag siya ay sumahod. Ang ID na iyon ay hindi lamang isang card ng pagkakakilanlan, ito ay simbolo ng kanyang katapatan at walang kapantay na pagmamahal sa asawa. Kinabukasan, bumalik si Tatay Moises upang tuparin ang kanyang pangako. Ngunit may sorpresang naghihintay sa kanya, isang kabutihang hindi niya inaasahan. Sa sandaling iyon, napatunayan na sa kabila ng mga pagsubok, may mga pusong handang umunawa at tumulong. Kaya mga kaagapay, sa mundong puno ng hamon, ang katapatan at pagmamahal sa pamilya ay nagbubukas ng puso ng kapwa at nagbabalik ng kabutihan.
Hindi sukat, kulang sa timbang, pandaraya o maling gawin. Maitama ang mali.
Umani ng matinding reaksyon online ang video ng isang aso na nakatali sa likod ng umaandar na tricycle sa Villanueva, Misamis Oriental. Habang mabilis ang takbo ng sasakyan, pilit na tumatakbo ang aso upang hindi makaladkad, isang tagpong ikinabahala ng maraming netizen. Agad namang kumilos ang pulisya katuwang ang Cagayan de Oro City Animal Welfare Society Incorporated upang imbestigahan ang insidente. Ayon sa driver na siya ring may-ari, hindi umano niya napansin na nakatali pa ang alaga. Dinala ang aso sa veterinaryo at nagtamo ito ng mga gasgas sa paa bago ibinalik sa may-ari na nangakong hindi na mauulit ang pangyayari. Ngunit higit sa paliwanag, nananatili ang paalala. Ang mga hayop ay may pakiramdam at karapatang hindi isapanganib. Kaya mga kaagapay, ang pananakit o pagpapabaya sa alagang hayop ay may kaakibat na pananagutan sa ilalim ng batas. Maging mapagmatiyag at responsable dahil ang isang saglit na pagkukulang ay maaaring magdulot ng matinding pinsala.
Zambasulta Balita.
Oras natin mga kaibigan, alas 7:20 na ng umaga at para sa ating mga balita, trespassing o iligal na pagpasok sa pribadong ari-arian ang nakikitang motibo sa naganap na pamamaril sa Sebastian Compound, Luciano Drive, Barangay Mampang kahapon. Base sa Facebook post ni Alcalde Kimer Adan Olaso, lumabas sa paunang investigasyon na ito ang hinalang mitya ng insidente sa loob ng isang abandonadong bodega sa nasabing lugar. Kinilala ang biktima ng pamamaril na si Gilbert Constantino Jr., residente ng Torres Drive sa nabanggit ding barangay na nagtamo ng mga sugat sa braso at binti sanhi ng mga bala. Ayon sa mga ulat, ang caretaker mismo ng naturang property ang pumaril sa biktima sa nasabing lugar. Sa inisyal na ulat, 2 basyo ng bala ang narecover ng mga pulis na nagresponde sa pinangyarihan ng krimen. Sa kasulukuyan, nasa kustodiya na ng otoridad ang suspect matapos positibo kilalanin ng biktima. Dagdag naman ng biktima, nangunguha lamang sila ng shell nang pagbabarilin sila ng suspect.
Zambasulta Balita.
Na-recover ng mga technical divers ang bangkay ng isa pang nawawalang crew member mula sa lumubog na MV Tricia Kirstine 3 sa Basilan nitong linggo, Pebrero 22. Kinilala ang biktima na si Rodolfo Cabilan Jr. na nagsisilbing oiler ng nasabing sasakyang pandagat. Natagpuan ang labi ni Cabilan Jr. sa bahagi ng card deck bow ng barko. Ayon sa kanyang ama na si Rodolfo Sr., positibo niyang kinilala ang anak dahil sa suot pa nito ang kanyang sling bag na naglalaman ng kanyang identification card at cellphone at na kung saan halos 1 buwan ito ma-recover matapos nga ang insidente. Nagpaabot naman ng pasasalamat si Rodolfo Sr. sa PCG at sa iba pang mga ahensya sa pagkakarecover sa kanyang anak. Sa pinakahuling datos mula sa PCG, umakyat na sa 65 ang kabuang bilang ng mga nasawi sa trahedya habang nananatili sa 293 ang mga nakaligtas at 14 pa ang hinahanap o idineklarang missing.
Zambasulta Balita.
Samantala, inaresto ng mga tauhan ng Coast Guard District Southwestern Mindanao o CGD-SWM ang 3 suspect na sangkot sa pagnanakaw sa loob ng MV Maria Erlina habang bumabaybay sa Basilan noong Pebrero 11 ng kasulukuyang taon. Ayon sa ulat ng PCG, rumesponde ang Coast Guard Sea Marshal Unit matapos makatanggap ng sumbong mula sa crew ng barko bandang alas 4 ng madaling araw. Nakilala ang mga suspect na pawang mga menor de edad na umano'y nagnakaw ng pera at mahahalagang kagamitan mula sa isang pasahero. Na-recover sa mga ito ang cash na nagkakahalaga ng mahigit 20,000 pesos at 2 pares ng gintong hikaw habang itinapon sa dagat ang bag at mga ID ng biktima. Lumabas din sa paunang investigasyon na inutusan lamang ang mga minor de edad. Pagdating naman sa port ng Zamboanga, agad na nagsagawa ng inventory at blotter entry ang PCG bago ipinasa ang mga suspect sa Police Station 11.
Zambasulta Balita.
Kasalukuyang iniimbestigahan ng Police Regional Office 9 Pro 9 ang isang pulis matapos itong mabalitang umiwas sa isang checkpoint ng Land Transportation Office sa Pagadian City, Zamboanga del Sur. Sa isang viral video sa social media, makikita ang nasabing pulis na pinahinto ng mga tauhan ng LTO dahil sa kawalan ng side mirror ng kanyang motorsiklo, ngunit sa halip magpasailalim sa LTO ay humarurot palayo. Sa isang opisyal ng pahayag nitong Sabado, binigyang diin ng Pro9 na hindi nila kinukonsinti ang anumang gawain ng kanilang mga tauhan na lumalabag sa batas o nagpapakita ng kawalang galang sa kapwa tagapagpatupad ng batas. Ayon sa organisasyon, ang ganitong pag-uugali ay hindi katanggap-tanggap at sumasalungat sa kanilang core values na professionalism, accountability at integrity. Pagkaman natukoy na ang pagkakakilanlan ng pulis, hindi muna ito isinapubliko ng Pro9 habang gumugulong ang investigasyon para sa mga kaukulang administratibo at posibleng kriminal na kaso.
Zambasulta Balita.
Announcement po tayo galing sa Philippine Mission Association o PMA kung saan sila ay magsasagawa ng Youth Mission Conference at ito po ay free. Magaganap ito sa March 14, 2026 mula 7 a.m. hanggang 5 p.m. sa Zamboanga City Alliance Evangelical Church. 241 Mayor Haldon Street, Barangay Canelar. Ang registration po ay libre at ito ay isang one-day mission conference open para po sa lahat ng gustong sumali, lahat ng mga Christian at sa lahat ng edad ay pwede po ito. At kung meron po kayong, kung gusto nyong magpa-register ay i-contact po ang ating number 0916296625 at pwede din sa ating comment section. Kung kayo po ay pastor, church leaders, no, or kaya nasa evangelism, discipleship, nasa church planting, mission at other ministry team, kayo po ay invited sa nasabing activity. For registration, no, isasend namin sa inyo yung QR code kasi meron po kayong kailangan mascan. At ang mahalaga dahil full day po ito, bring your own lunch at pwede na pong bumili on-site or mas maganda po ay magkaroon ng pre-order para sa inyong lunch and snacks ninyo. So muli, March 14, 2026, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Zambasulta Balita.
At yan ang ating mga balita sa araw na ito. Mag-break po tayo sandali pero wag kayong bibitaw. Makakasama po natin si Sir Rovic Jan Eslao, ang ating historian at ang founder ng La Liga Historia Zamboanga para pag-usapan ang EDSA at 40 Pamana ng Kalayaan. Magbabalik ang oras na Zambasulta dito lamang sa 1116 DXAS Radyo Komunidad.
Hear what happens when lives encounter the transformative message of Jesus Christ on air, online, and on the ground. Here is FEBC Philippines Chief Executive Officer Luis Miguel Castillo for the FEBC Report.
Hello everyone, I'm Lucho Castillo and welcome to the FEBC Report. FEBC Philippines is a gospel media ministry with 13 stations all over the Philippines. In today's conversation, we have Pastor Alex Gunay, our station manager for 1062 DXKI, Coronadal, South Cotabato. Hi Pastor Alex, it's good to see you again.
Hello, Kuya Lucho. It's good to see you also.
You know, Pastor Alex, I enjoyed my time there last December as we celebrated 61 years of DXKI serving the people in Coronadal, South Cotabato. Back in 1964, as the station started by God's faithfulness, and where it is now, how can you see God's hand in the journey of the station?
The fact that the XKI is still here after 61 years, it's already a testament of God's faithfulness sa buhay ng istasyon. Ang mission natin ay nagpapatuloy in spite of a time when resources was limited. The future was uncertain sa mga panahong yon dahil nga masyadong limitado ang ating operation. But over the decades, South Cotabato has changed and communities have grown. Cultures have shifted and technology has advanced. Makikita natin na DXKI is still here and has remained faithful to its calling. Maganda yung title na kauna-unahang regional station ng Far East Broadcasting Company Philippines. Pero mas magandang isipin na after 61 years, it still stand strong because of God's faithfulness sa buhay ng istasyon. Yun ang consistency na nakikita ko over the generation and it is not accidental. It tells us that God has been the one carrying the ministry forward, providing the people, providing the partners, the protection, and yung purpose natin each step of the way.
Oh, thank you, Pastor Alex. I think when we celebrated the anniversary, we heard our partners carry this pride of being part of the station in producing programs, in conveying the message of God's faithfulness to different people groups there. Sabi nga nila, DXKI was like the town crier, no? Siya nag-a-announce, siya nag-mobilize sa tao, siya naghahatid ng balita, siya ang nag-i-encourage sa kanila. And the station is called Your Friendly Voice. What does it mean to the people of South Cotabato today that you are the friendly voice there?
Ibig sabihin ng Friendly Voice, ang istasyon natin ay approachable. It's a trustworthy station, and for many listeners, personal ang dating sa kanila dahil sabi nga nila, the station for them speaks gently and truthfully every day. In times that when people are overwhelmed sa mga bad news, mga pressure, mga loneliness, mga mental issues, DXKI offers something that is different, a voice that is willing to listen, to encourage, and to remind people that there is a God who is always present. Para naman sa mga farmers, mga workers, mga parents, mga elderly, and even the young, it is a familiar and comforting and consistent voice na kanilang naririnig araw-araw. And it's the kind of voice that you can carry all day. And more importantly, that voice comes from the Lord.
I often hear this term, no, when I'm there with you, yung migo, miga. Can you explain that and how that defines that your friendly voice?
Yung address natin sa each staff habang nag-uusap sila on air, we agreed na i-precede natin ng term na migo or miga. It simply means friend. Pag kami ay nasa labas, nakikita kami ng mga listeners, ganito na rin ang tawag sa amin. Miga Joy, Miga Jen, gano'n. Dahil nakasanayan na nila.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Pastor Alex. You know, being a gospel media ministry, the importance of creating an impact to the community is why we do the broadcast. Can you share an impact story, a life change story that clearly shows that DXKI has become a place of refuge on air, a safe space for people to come together?
Actually, napakaraming story. One example is yung kay Ed at saka kay Janet, katakutan. She is often alone at home kasi nga working yung husband. Nagiging daily spiritual refuge niya ang DXKI. Sabi nga niya, pag naka-on yung radio, it feels that she has a companion sa kanilang bahay. Yung mga naririnig niya mga sermon, mga music, mga Bible-based programs, nagbibigay ng kalakasan sa kanya. It strengthens her faith, guides her decisions as a mother, and brings comfort during times of uncertainty and even during times of illness. May mga panahon na may sakit sila and sinishare talaga nila na, oy, ito yung nararamdaman ko ngayon, mahinang-mahina, pero salamat, nandyan kayo. And as a couple, si Ed saka si Janet naka-experience kung paano na tinulungan talaga sila ng DXKI na ma-renew at ma-strengthen ang kanilang marriage bilang mag-asawa during difficult seasons. The Lord is using those messages that they hear on the station to bring a clarity, encouragement, and healing sa kanilang relationship. Kung paano ng DXKI is more than just a broadcast. DXKI has become a refuge, a safe place, a companion sa kanilang pamamahay where they find hope, direction, and God's presence, especially during the times when life feels overwhelming and heavy.
Okay, wow. That's just one story, of many, I'm sure, where the station and its message of communicating Christ, over the airwaves have made a significant impact in the lives of people who hear the message. How has DXKI learned to serve a very, very diverse audience and still staying true to our gospel mission?
Tama yun, Kuya Lucho, Napakaraming mga kultura dito sa South Cotabato. Over the years, DXKI has served this diverse audience by remaining grounded sa salita ng Panginoon, but at the same time, being sensitive sa pinagsisilbihan nating community. DXKI communicates the gospel with humility, with respect, and love, while pointing everyone that we have hope in God, we have hope in the Lord. By addressing real-life issues and community concern, DXKI builds trust in the community that it serves dito sa South Central Mindanao, and through the trust, the gospel continues to reach the hearts of many people without compromise.
Wow, that's good to hear. You truly have shared that you understand, the people that you serve. You listen to them, you connect with them, you engage with them, and therefore we are able to build this partnership. We walk with them throughout the years that we serve there in Cotabato. 61 years might be, wow, that's 6 decades. But the road ahead, there's still more that the Lord is asking us to continue doing, in our gospel media ministry. So for you, as you look ahead, what is your prayer for our ministry there, for the station, and for the people that we serve and reach every day?
Ang prayer ko sa DXKI is that the station will continue to be faithful and to be a voice for the Lord Jesus Christ in the years ahead. Yun naman ang ating pinakamisyon, until all have heard. And more than anything, I pray that DXKI will reach more homes and more individuals who need hope, especially to those who feel that they were forgotten and feel that they are alone in their struggles. And may many more families one day look back and say, ginamit ng Panginoon ang DXKI to bring His Word into our lives and to change our story.
Pastor Alex, in your 38 years of serving in FEBC, when you look back at that, that's a lot of years serving the Lord. But when I look at you, I see the freshness, the joy of each day that you go and be with our team there in Coronadal. What can make you say that lahat nito ay all worth it? 38 years of serving.
You are not just a worker dito sa DXKI, but it permeates your life. Long after na wala ka na dito sa DXKI, parang wala ka na nandito pa rin. Naging training ground mo ang DXKI. It has become your seminary, it has become your wilderness, it has become your refuge, and long after your life, sa pagkatapos ng service mo sa DXKI, madadala mo yon lahat.
Thank you, Pastor Alex. You are a living testament of how the Lord moves. I had a wonderful time with Pastor Alex Gunay, our station manager at DXKI, Coronadal, South Cotabato. In these heart-to-heart talks, we really see how God is moving, drawing out the truths in the life of the station, in the community, and in the life of people serving in the gospel media ministry. Pastor Alex came to FEBC not knowing the Lord, and now here he is, for almost 4 decades after, serving faithfully. And that's the takeaway. God is faithful. 61 years, 38 years, the life of Ed and Janet Katakutan, the impact of the programs, and the seasons to come where God will continually move in reaching the hearts of people. Thank you very much for joining us in the FEBC report. Thank you for praying for us. Thank you for walking with us. And so, take care, abide in Christ, and see you next time in the FEBC report.
That was the FEBC report. Stay up to date and join the conversation online by subscribing to the FEBC Philippines channel on YouTube and following FEBC PH on Facebook. Learn how to partner in the work of communicating Christ in our world by visiting febc.ph/give. Thank you for your support in the ministry. Until all have heard.
Zambasulta.
At nagbabalik ang oras na Zambasuta. Kayo pa rin po ay nakikinig sa 1116 DXAS, Your Community Radio. Muli, ako po ang inyong lingkod, Sara May Tulabing. Ang DXAS ay isa sa mga himpilan ng Far East Broadcasting Company at kasapi sa kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas. Ang FEBC po ay isang non-profit, non-commercial at donor-based radio station. At dahil nga sa katapatan ng ating Diyos at sa inyong partnership na rin ay tayo po nagpapatuloy sa paghahatid ng mabuting balita ni Kristo. Inaanyayahan namin kayong maging bahagi ng ating radio ministry. Pwede nyo pong iscan ang ating QR code o kaya ay mag-deposit sa ating bank accounts para sa inyong donasyon. At para ma-acknowledge namin ito ay magpadala po kayo ng mensahe sa amin. Muli, maraming salamat sa inyong partnership at God bless.
Pag-usapan natin.
Ngayong taon, ating ginugunita ang EDSA People Power Revolution. Bakit nga ba mahalaga pa rin pag-usapan ang 4 na araw ng Pebrero noong taong 1986, gayong halos kalahati ng ating populasyon ngayon ay hindi ipinanganak noon? Buhay pa ba ang diwa ng EDSA o isa na lamang itong pahina sa ating mga textbook? Upang bigyang linaw ang mga tanong na ito ay makasama po natin ang ating expert ngayon. Pagdating sa kasaysayan, let us welcome ang ating guest ngayon, ang ating favorite teacher, Professor Rovic John Eslao from Ateneo de Zamboanga University and founder ng La Liga Historia Zamboangueña. Sir Rovic, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Ate Sara. Buenas to all of our listeners.
Ayan.
Hoping to share more.
Yes, sabi ko nga excited na naman ako kasi nga nung kabataan ko, hindi ako nakikinig sa teacher pero ngayon talagang interesting ang ating usapan lagi. Eto po pag-uusapan natin yung EDSA at 40. 40 years na po pala. Ilang taon na kayo, Sir Rovic?
Minus 10.
Oo nga, magkaedaran tayo. So titingnan po natin itong EDSA at 40, pamana ng kalayaan. Una sa lahat po, Sir Rovic, bakit kahit after 40 years, mahalaga pa rin na mapag-usapan ang tungkol nangyari dati sa EDSA Revolution?
Alright, magandang tanong yan, Ate Sara, no? Kasi ngayon sa pagdating na ating teknolohiya, no? Usbong ng mga AI, mga trolls, kumbaga. Kailangan pag-usapan ng EDSA. Ano ba ang tunay na nangyari? Kasi nangyari to siya. Nangyari po ito kahit anong gusto nyong gawin or kahit hindi natin siya matanggal sa ating kasaysayan. Nangyari po. Pero gusto kong iklaro po, no, Ate Sara. Ako, I would see it like, kasi nangyari kasi, may 3 EDSA kasi.
Okay.
So itong una. Ang unang EDSA People Power Revolution. First, EDSA 1, no? Kasi EDSA 2, actually, yun na nga, last month sana yun, nag-usap din tayo sana kasi actually, 25 years. Baka in another time, we can talk about it, no? So, meron yung EDSA 3, no? Pero hindi yung successful yung EDSA 3. Pero yun na, may ano pa yun siya, may debate pa kung EDSA, gawing by EDSA 3 ba yun. Pero yung EDSA 1, nangyari po siya, no? Ito na, no? So, for context po, no, before tayong mag-discuss ng in length, pag-usapan natin yung yung specific details. So, ano tong EDSA People Power Revolution? Nangyari ito, nag-start po ito February 22. And then nag-end siya February 25. So, it was a series of protests. 4 days yun siya, as sinabi mo kanina, no? So, nangyari po yun siya for a span of 4 days. Nag-begin 22. Then, of course, it ended 25. No? Nag-end siya when Marcos left. Kaya nga 25 sa yung day na for commemoration or holiday. Pero unfortunately, hindi siya holiday ngayon, no? I-explain ko din siya bakit hindi siya holiday. Marami nang tatanong. Kasi yung walang batas na required na holiday siya. It had been a practice that the President of the Philippines declares it a holiday. So
ngayon, hindi siya holiday kasi
Kasi pangulo yung yung pamilya, yung isang pamilya na
Anak
apektado
mismo.
ng people power. Pero naman, hindi niya man nilagay na working holiday pa rin
Yes.
daw. Pero
Ah.
ito din ang hindi ko maintindihan sa anong pagkakaiba ng working pati non-working holiday.
Sa non-working
Pero-
may 30% additional. Sa working, no work, no pay talaga. Kahit ang
Alright,
work ka, yun lang ang bayad mo.
Wow, I didn't know that. Thank you, Ate Sara. So, ang naman nung yung working holiday, hindi. So, nung 25, yun na yung ginugunita na na araw ng EDSA.
Mhm.
Pero sa panahon na ito, kailangan nga natin alamin, bakit EDSA, or ano bang meron sa EDSA? So, nangyari po yung revolution o nagsimula sa Epifanio de los Santos Avenue, EDSA. Epifanio de los Santos Avenue. So, dyan po yun sa Manila. At nagsimula po yun siya, doon maraming tao ang nagtipon doon. At to make the long story short, at the end, it forced Marcos to leave Malacanang, to leave the Philippines, and was exiled to the US. At of course, ang pumalit si Cory Aquino.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, so Sir Robic, pwede niyo po ba kaming ibalik sa kasaysayan? Ano ba
Alright.
nag-provoke sa mga tao para magkaroon ng people power that time?
Sige, that's a good question. So with your permission, mag-share po ako ng PowerPoint. So meron na ba?
Sure, nakikita na po namin.
Alright. So ang lang to, I like to share this. I gave a lecture last year sa Ateneo on this. Yung namin, kasi we do an annual commemoration of this event, no? And sometimes actually not sometimes, na siya, it's already a thing. We merge it with Zamboanga, no? Ano nga tayo ito? Yung
Dia de Zamboanga?
Dia de Zamboanga.
Kasi
magkatabi
magkasunod. Oo.
25, 26. no?
Yes.
So, ewan ko kung magtatawa ba yung mga listeners, no? Pero we call it EDSA. EDSA is Zamboanga.
Ang witty po nun,
Kaya nga, nagulat nga ako. I like to credit my colleague from the Stone Liber Arts, si Ma'am Kim. Ma'am Kim, if you're listening, thank you for giving me the idea. Actually, aksidente niya lang sinabi. EDSA. Tapos ako din, no?
Pwede. Ang galing.
Galing.
Oo.
So anyways, balik tayo.
Oo.
So ano nangyari? So I like to start with by saying beginning of the end. So EDSA, let's look on the how it started, no, the end of the Marcos regime. So how it began. So let me explain muna the political structure at the time, no? Kasi we can also understand how it began through the structures at the time. Kasi ako, I'm really into structures. So first, of course, our constitution was the 1973 constitution at this time, no? 1986, the constitution reigning was the 1970 constitution. Of course, we have three branches.
Yes.
So the legislative branch, isang house lang siya, unicameral. So nga di ba ngayon, dalawa, bicameral, sa Senate pati House. Before, it's just the patasang pambansa. Kaya pansin nyo, pangalan ng House of Representatives sa Quezon City, Batasan Hills, Patasang Pambansa. That's just the Philippinized version or Tagalogized version of the word National Assembly. Okay? To make it more Filipino. So Batasang Pambansa. Then of course, the executive, no, ito yung nag-execute ng batas. So ang legislative gumagawa ng batas, kaya nga batasan. Ewan ko, batasang pambansa. Not Bisaya na batasan na na attitude, no?
Yes.
So executive, sila nag-execute. So sino executive? So we have the president as the symbolic head of state. And then meron tayong prime minister who is supposed to be the day-to-day manager of the government. So we were a parliamentary system, no? As a fan of parliamentary systems, I'm not a fan of this system, of the Marcos system, because he had been president and he was even prime minister. He was both president and prime minister when it started. And later on, he gave it to Cesar Virata as the prime minister. But technically, he's still in control, which supposed not to be. Because the president is still technically a symbolic head of state. So, for me, no, as let's say, I would like to have the 1970 Constitution in its pure form. Marcos hijacked it, no? Marcos hijacked it. So hindi siya na realize yung true intent of the 1970 Constitution. And of course, the judiciary remained still the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court had been the constant in all of this. Now, so as I mentioned, Marcos had hijacked it. So if you can see this very nice political cartoon, so in the parliamentary system, they handed him over both the position of president and prime minister. So he later amendments. So when I say hijack, ito na yung mga hijack ni Marcos. There were amendments that allowed him to exercise legislative powers until martial law shall have been lifted. So just for context, martial law had been already out in as early as 1981. Although by decree, no, or by de jure, tinanggal niya by name ang martial law, but his system as the dictator remains. No? So may may nuances yun, no? May mga layers po yun. So he had take his oath as prime minister, no. So anyways, I'll just skip that part. So I'm sure if there are Star Wars fans among our listeners, so this is from a clip from Star Wars. So Princess Leia mentioned to Darth Vader and to Governor Tarkin, the more you tighten your grip, the more it will slip your fingers. So the more Marcos tighten his grip, the more it will begin his end. No? So for example, one of the factors that led to his end was our failing economy. No? So yung sinasabi ng golden age ang martial law, at some point there are some truth to it at the beginning, but later on it fell down. No? As you can see there, around 83, 82, negative po yung GDP growth natin. Bumaba as from 3.6, 1.9, negative agad. So this had been contributed to many factors at Isara, no? So example, yung oil crisis, Cold War, there are many factors to it, no? And that's why we have been forced to send our workers outside. That's why we had OFWs. No? Dito yung nag-start, no? So we have been exporting our labor to the detriment of our economy as well. Number two, of course, we had increased debts, no? As what Marcos have been saying, I mean, the narrative na yun, the golden age of infrastructure, the maraming binabuild si Marcos, like yung San Juanico Bridge, Philippine Heart Center, Philippine Field Center, but most of this are from debt. We borrowed it. And at some point, in less than 5 years, if you can see this graph, from 1977 to 1982, our debt grew by $16 billion. So in just 5 years, grabe. So that's why ito yung nag-contribute din ng pagbaba ng economy, no, dun sa previous graph. So until now, we're still paying that debt. No? So grabe. So of course, there were already political instability, like communist and Moro rebellion. So MNLF dyan nagsimula. NPA, dyan na yan, no? Accusation of corruption, favoritism, and cronyism in the military. And the one thing, no, that's very famous, no, is the assassination of then former Senator Benigno Aquino Jr. in tarmac, no, as in the tarmac of the Manila International Airport. Kaya tawag sa kanya NAIA ngayon, Ninoy Aquino Jr. Kasi dyan siya pinatay, no. So many are questioning the legitimacy of the Marcos presidency. Ang dami mong problema, Makoy, umalis ka na. So mga ganun ba? So he had caused these problems. So why not resign? Leave the office. So meron pa yung nakita ko, sobra na, tama na, palitan na, no? So yung mga ganong protest. So after all of this pressures, no? So just to give you context, there was an election in 1981 for the presidency.
Bago ang
Marcos won.
EDSA.
Bagong EDSA. There was an election, 1981. Of course, Marcos won around 88%. That's the largest so far. Of course, lopsided yun kasi the opposition did not join. They boycotted the election. So, Marcos won a 6-year term. So, if you count it, 1981 plus 6, the next election should be 1987. However, as early as 1985, they were been pressuring Marcos. We were, where's your mandate? Marami nang nag-protest, ganun. You are not popular anymore. You don't have the will of the people. So out of the pressure, Marcos said in November 3, 1985, sige, to prove that I'm still popular, I will call for snap elections. So kaya nga siya snap. Kasi hindi siya scheduled.
Tsaka
It
parang
was-
wala siya sa batas.
Wala siya, ginawang batas later on. Siyempre,
Later
ang
on.
sinasabi niya, siyempre, siya dictator siya. So sabi niya, oy, batasan, gawa kayo ng batas na mag-snap elections tayo. So pwede yun. In the legal framework at the time. So, yun na. So he cave into pressure, international pressure actually. Kasi ayaw na ng IMF, yung International Monetary Fund, na magpautang kay Marcos until he proves na he still has the mandate. So sige, I'll prove that I still have the mandate. So nagpatawag siya ng elections. Kaya nga, ang tawag lang, snap elections. Kasi hindi siya scheduled. So, ewan ko.
Then, late last year, Marcos
sound-
made
I
a
sound.
surprise announcement on American
Yeah.
television. President Marcos, there's a perception here that your problems derive from the fact that your mandate is gone, whatever it once was. Now, there is a way of renewing a mandate, and that is to have elections.
Well, I understand the opposition has been asking for an election. In answer to their request, I announce that I am ready to call
No.
a snap election, perhaps earlier than 8 months, perhaps in 3 months or less than that.
So it was just a decision. He was pressured by an American media. As you can see, the press is also very important, no? That's why you, Ate Sara, thank you for your work as well, and the rest of your team, no? You can see this was an American press, although foreign, pressuring a state leader. Oy, wala nang kalakalang mandate. Pressure din to si Macoy. Sige, election tayo. So, dyan tayo papasok. So, the election was scheduled on February 1986. So, this is in November 1985. Scheduled siya on February 7, 1986.
And
So, Mansa, I like to sideline mo tayo konti. Gusto ko i-focus muna tayo sa opposition candidate that time. And hindi si Cory. It was not Cory who was the original opposition candidate. But it was former Senator Salvador Doy Laurel. So let me play this video for you. So he was nominated here in this convention.
Your nominations committee has received only one nominee for presidential standard bearer of the Unido. I therefore move to close the nomination and to declare unanimously the Honorable Laurel as the presidential standard bearer of Unido. Those who vote yes to this motion, please rise and give a standing ovation to the presidential nominee.
Unido, United Democratic United Nationalist Democratic Organization, if I'm not mistaken. Ayun. So it's a coalition of opposition parties. So Doy Laurel, would later be he was the son of former President Jose Laurel, the one who became president during the Japanese period. So that's Doy Laurel, no? So he was supposed to be the rival of Marcos in the elections. However, ito naman. So he was elected to the Senate with Ninoy Aquino in 1967. He led the legit opposition against Marcos with Cesar Climaco.
Yes.
So Cesar Climaco, our mayor in Zamboanga, joined forces with Doy Laurel, and they created the UNIDO. And he resigned from the Batasan, yung Batasan Pamasan, yung sabi ko kanina. He was a member of that. He resigned after Ninoy was shot. So as a protest, no. So now in December, around this period when Marcos declared my snap elections, there were other moves to have Cory to run. You know, to unite the opposition, because there were some factions of the opposition are not confident that Doy will win. So they want a popular person, a popular icon, which they found on the wife of the slain popular leader Ninoy. So there were negotiations. So at the time, December, Laurel gave his way to Aquino.
Of unity. The key to victory. It will dismantle the dictatorship and bring about the establishment of a truly just and democratic order. I wish to announce that late last night, I withdrew my certificate of candidacy for the presidency.
He gave way.
And that, together with Cory here, we filed also last night our certificates of candidacy, both under the banner of UNIDO, she for the presidency of the Republic, and I for the vice presidency.
So he gave way. Doy Laurel gave way to Cory.
VP na lang siya, tatakbo.
VP na siya, to unite the opposition. Pero to be honest, the opposition also did not unite at some point. So, however, it was a big deal. No, it was a big. Although there were some mga factions na did not agree with this, but this was a big deal. Two main opposition figures, Cory, the wife of the slain senator, and the veteran Doy, no, joining forces. So recap, no? November 3, Marcos called for snap elections. Tapos December 2, dito yung nagpaano pa. General Ver, who was the right-hand man of Marcos, the chief of staff of the AFP, was acquitted of the Aquino Galman murder. Marami nag-react, yung right-hand man ni Marcos acquitted. So where's the justice now? Pabor-pabor ba ito? So marami na nag-join forces. In 11, the opposition factions unite under a Cory Doy ticket. So in the elections, there were different results. No? This was on February 7. No? Again, look at the timeline. February 7. No? So yung EDSA, di ba, nangyari 22. So, very fresh pang elections. Okay. So in the election, you can see there, COMELEC, panalo si Marcos.
Okay.
Pero meron isang group, yung volunteers, the NAMFREL, which is National Movement for Free Elections, they reported that Cory won with 70% of the votes being casted. If you can see the map, Zamboanga City voted for Cory and Doy. Ikita yung map na yun, color yellow. So we majority of the voters voted for Cory. Maybe this is a hypothesis, of course, because Cesar Climaco was the mayor at the time.
Opo.
Around this 1980, when he was shot also.
Opo.
Ninoy was shot 1983, si Cesar 1984. So syempre nandun pa yung emotions, no? For Cesar. That's why most likely, I mean, this is a hypothesis na Zamboangueños voted for Cory and Doy.
Yes.
Okay. Now, another one, timeline, no? That's February 7 yung yung election. 2 days later, COMELEC vote tabulators walk out because they found irregularities by dagdag bawas. Yun yung term na lumabas, no? Pagdating kay Cory, parang nag-50 tapos naging 0, parang ganun ba? So may mga allegations of voter fraud. So nag-walk out yan sila, giving or questioning the legitimacy of the elections. But nonetheless, despite these allegations, on February 15, the Batasang Pambansa declared Marcos the winner. So February 15, kindly take note, ito yung timeline. So talaga, marami nagpo-protest. Bakit si Marcos panalo? Marami nang
7 days before ng EDSA.
Yes, 7 days before the EDSA, no? So, and then, wait lang, remember also, merong international observers. There's a U.S. senator or U.S. delegation led by, I forgot his name, a U.S. senator, questioning the legitimacy. So, actually, the world has been watching. Maraming media nandito to see if Marcos will win or not. So, pagdating ng here comes the revolution. So, on if you can, sa mga viewers na baka pwede nyong, if you're so interested, no, you can check this YouTube playlist I made of the different videos on the revolution. Baka you would want, you can take a photo of the QR code. Siguro you can pause this video if you're watching on Facebook. Then you can scan the QR code. It will be directed to YouTube. Anyway, so this happened on day 1. So on February 22. So this is just a very short outline. No, actually marami nangyari, no, but this is just an outline. So day 1, February 22, there's a plot of a coup that was discovered by Marcos. So for those who don't know what a coup is, it's a military takeover. And the pasimuno nito was Juan Ponce Enrile, the Minister of Defense of Marcos. So he tried to overthrow Marcos. Pero na-discover sila. Then, at the time, Aquino left for Cebu to campaign for civil disobedience.
Cory.
So si Cory, yeah. Cory was in Cebu at this time. Now, because the coup was discovered, Enrile and Ramos at the time, Fidel Ramos, the future president, he was the vice chief of staff of the AFP and the chief of the Philippine Constabulary, the police. And he was a cousin of Marcos, si Ramos. Magkasin sila.
Senior.
But the senior, of course. So they barricaded themselves in Camp Crame, that's the headquarters of the Constabulary, and Camp Aguinaldo, the headquarters of the AFP. So, in this, by the way, dito na papasok yung EDSA. Saan ba located ang Camp Crame and Camp Aguinaldo? Sa may EDSA. Magkatabihan sila na kampo. At sa gitna ng kampo na yan, ang EDSA, yung malaking avenue na yan. So, because Marcos found out the coup, they sent his forces. And because they will be outnumbered, Enrile and Ramos called Cardinal Sin, the Archbishop of Manila, si Cardinal Jaime Cardinal Sin, was called by the mutineers for help. So Cardinal Sin went to radio and asked the people to go to EDSA. So Cardinal Sin calls the people to support. Many people answered the call. Nagtipon sila sa EDSA. So dito na po yung simula ng revolution. Or kung hindi nanalo sila, siguro rebellion ang labas niya. Kasi kung rebellion hindi nanalo. Kasi kung revolution, panalo na, tapos na. Pero ito hindi pa nila alam mananalo ba sila o hindi or ano mangyayari. Remember, you have to put yourself on this day, February 22. Wala pa kasi, hindi pa natin alam kung maalis ba si Marcos o wala. So it was really new, what we call extraordinary. This was beyond an ordinary day. So the next day, day 2, February 23. Okay. So, Radyo Veritas, yung radyo na ginamit ni Cardinal Sin was silenced. It was captured by Marcos forces. And another radio sympathetic to the revolution remained active. Meron din isang radyo, forgot the name of the radio. They became they took the place of Radyo Veritas. So Marcos then formally asked for pledge of loyalty from his generals. Siyempre kasi siyang presidente. But it did not stop the people flocking to EDSA, blocking Marcos troops to attack Ramos and Enrile. That's why you have the famous photo na wherein nagkapit-bisig sila lahat sa harap ng tangke. Kasi yun na yung pinadala ni Marcos kasi gusto niya i-aresto si Ramos pati si Enrile. Pero yung mga tao doon nagkapit-bisig. Hindi kayo pwede dito. Kami malalata or what, no? So, Marcos troops initially withdrew from EDSA, and Marcos insists he will not step down from power. So, nag-withdraw sila syempre kasi may mga tao. So, they were finding another way to attack Enrile and Ramos. Here's the crucible na. Ito na yung parang ang sinasabi naming turning point, no? So, on February 24, no, day 3, Air Force units, kasi remember, ground forces yun eh. Tangke yun. Since hindi man sila makapunta sa sa camp kasi may mga tao. So what's the next strategy? Alangan dagat. Wala naman yun sa dagat. So the next units will be the Air Force by air. They will attack the camps through air. So they were ordered to attack. Ito yung turning point. The same soldiers that were asked to attack Ramos and Enrile by air defected to the rebels. They joined Ramos and Enrile. The ones who were ordered to attack became now the rebels. Naku, nag-change. No? Now, dito nagkaroon ng confusion sa communications. Umalis na daw si Marcos. But he went to TV, oy, nandito ako, buhay pa ako. So may ganung showdown pa sa media, no? So Ver, he wanted to attack. Sabi ni Ver, oy, ano na, kasi we cannot control the people there, we need to attack now. But Marcos refused. To the credit of Marcos, it was technically bloodless revolution because Marcos refused to attack. Then many soldiers at the time that were sent there defected to the revolution. And then Marcos declared a national curfew, but many refused. So here comes day 4, February 25. Aquino came out of hiding kasi at the time they were concerned for her security. So she was hidden. So this one on day 4, February 25, ito na. She came out of hiding. Then at 10 a.m., both of them, Cory and Doy, took their oath as president and vice president in Club Filipino in San Juan. So 10 a.m. yun siya. Then 12 noon, Marcos took his oath again as president at Malacanang. Kasi siya nga nanalo.
Paano yun?
There were two presidents at There were two presidents of the Philippines at this time. So, pero yung kay Aquino pati kay Laurel, they took their oath by virtue of the revolution. Sabi nila, because the people wanted it. We're here. So, technically, no, to be from a political science perspective, Aquino and Laurel took power by revolution. It was a revolutionary government. It was not because of the 1973 Constitution. It was an extraordinary or extra-constitutional. It was outside the Constitution. That's why if you would listen to Cory's oath-taking, she did not mention the Constitution. She said to defend, to preserve and defend the fundamental law. Yun yung exact words. She did not say preserve and defend the Constitution. No, she did not say that. Because they did not recognize the 1973 Constitution. So it was an extra constitutional oath. Si Marcos, syempre, since siya mananalo, under the 1973 Constitution he won, syempre, he would invoke the Constitution. Now, at this time, rebel troops took over TV stations. And yung pag-oath na sana ni Marcos for president, natanggal siya sa air. Never na nakita ng mga tao na nag-oath taking si Marcos. Then this time, since parang magulo na. They were already firefight between government and rebel forces. Americans advised Marcos to leave the country and gone into exile to Hawaii. Then this time, people overrun Malacanang when Marcos had to leave. So ito na yung EDSA revolution. So that is the end, or at least the end of the Marcos regime. So actually marami pa yung nangyari, no? Pero this is just an outline. So dito, cleaning up the mess after EDSA, Aquino appoints Laurel as Prime Minister and Foreign Minister. I'll let this play out.
the Republic of the Philippines, and pursuant to the mandate of the Filipino people,
Mandate of the
I
people.
hereby affirm Salvador H. Laurel as Prime Minister of the Philippines.
Anyway, so yun yung point doon. So I'm quoting from Salvador Laurel's book. So sabi niya, may blunder daw si Cory. So actually spoiler alert, hindi sila nagkasundo later on. There was a rift between the two. So telling you, dito na nag-start na iba ang vice president pati president. Nung parang hindi sila magkasundo. Familiar pa ngayon?
Yes.
So, hindi. So, hindi mo siya nagsimula dito, pero dito na yung nagsimula yung series of, of animosity between president and vice. So, let me quote si Laurel. Sabi niya, I was able to obtain the commitment of 127 members and a clear majority of the Patatas and more MPs were willing to join. We had agreed that the new majority would annul the proclamation of Marcos and Tolentino, that Cory and I would instead be proclaimed, after which I would be formally installed as Prime Minister. Sadly, without any advice or warning, Cory proceeded to read over radio and TV, abolishing the Constitution and my own position as Prime Minister. So, to be honest, no, in this case, Cory became a dictator at this time. She unilaterally said, yeah, we'll set aside the 1970 Constitution and make a new one. So, this was EDSA. This is post-EDSA. So, I'm also shifting the narrative to what happened after EDSA. So, sabi niya, ni Laurel, history might have taken a different course if Cory had not abolished the 1970 Constitution. If her avowed objective was to achieve political stability at the earliest possible date, she should have repealed only the Marcos amendments, the so-called hijacks. It was like burning a house just to kill a rat. So, gabi yung metaphor ni Laurel dito. But Cory chose to burn the entire house. In her attempt to demolish the infrastructure of dictatorship, Cory wrecked the entire political structure and thus delayed and derailed the application of needed solutions to our worsening problems. So later on, there were coups d'etats, there were economic instabilities at the time. So Cory's presidency was although she restored democracy, we'll give credit to that, but I would disagree na sinasabi siya daw mother of Philippine democracy. When you say mother, you gave birth to it. But she didn't give birth to it because the democracy had been there. She just restored it. So I think she's not necessarily mother, no? And some kasi would put Cory like immaculate conception like Mama Mary, but she should not be. No? I'm sorry to mga mga dilawans dyan who would see Cory that way, but I would like to give kay yellow ka pa naman te, no? Sorry te ha, if
Yellow din yung background nyo.
Yellow din ako, pero brown man din to, or whatever. So, nonetheless, no, I hope, yun na nga, this is where my advocacy comes in, no? Let's not put people in pedestals, no? Dito yung toxic kasi ang mga Filipinos on this, like, we have a messianic complex, like, one politician or one person can change society, no, like a messiah, like si Duterte was considered a messiah by some. No, I'll just shift a bit dito ate, no, just kasi I'd like to call this out to some Christians who did this during the elections, like they sabi na like Moses Moses murdered but he was called, gano'n, tapos ano ba yun, David adulterated but he was still chosen. So sinasabi that God did not choose the qualified, God did not call the qualified, he qualified the called. So if Moses did that, if David did that, then Duterte, he curses, he kills, then he's the anointed, the savior, no? So parang this is not biblical. This is very exegesis, like putting words in the Bible, like twisting the meaning of the Bible to their own needs. So parang I wanted to call out mga mahirap ganun, no? It's difficult. But anyways, going back to EDSA. So ganun nangyari. Sorry to say, Cory also had her own blunders. So results, the debate on parliamentary system still there, spending millions in changing the constitution, holding 2 expensive national elections, one for Congress, one for local. Then their arbitrary replacement of elected local officials by favored officers in charge. Actually, this is where I would come in my lecture sa Ateneo on the legacy of EDSA, because the legacy of EDSA at SORI at one point were political dynasties. Nag-worsen yung political dynasties after EDSA. No? So, although it was in the Constitution, but the failure to prevent it led to its proliferation of political dynasties. So, yun ang sabi ni Laurel. So, anyways, to make the long story short, Laurel was excluded later on from Cory's administration. Hindi na sila nag-usap-usap. And then, of course, Laurel would run for president in 92 but got lost because Cory, still popular, endorsed Ramos. So parang for Laurel, he was betrayed. He was betrayed. Kasi remember, he gave way to Cory.
Yes.
And now, yun na nga. So, I think I will end here na lang at
Siguro po, no, as we end po itong ating pagbabalik, tanaw din ito kasi sa ating EDSA, no? Ano po siguro, Sir Rovic, yung wisdom na pwede nating makuha dito? At ano yung panawagan natin sa ating mga tagapakinig para, hindi ko alam kung para hindi maulit yung EDSA, pero that time may need, pero para magpatuloy pa rin magkaroon ng good governance.
Okay, this is good. Ba, ang gusto ko talaga pwede sabihin is, we should not stop telling truth. We should not stop speaking our minds. No? Again, since as Christians, no, we believe that all of us are created equal in the eyes of God. We are created in His own image. No? So we also have the rational mind to call for good governance, to call out corruption. So EDSA's legacy is answering to that call, to the Latin phrase vox populi vox Dei. The voice of the people is the voice of God. So if collectively we will unite and call out corruption, then the government that God created will remain answerable to us, to be accountable to us. So as in a democratic society, we should be open to dialogue, and at the same time, although this is dangerous to some, no, because some, if you belong to a majority, then you might trample on the rights of the minority. But democracy does not do that, no? Or in a parliamentary democracy, to be specific, the rights of the minority are still respected. You know, in terms of giving them voice, no? Kasi example, right now, no, if let's say Marcos or martial law remained, the censorship of the press remains, then, for example, maybe DXAS might not be airing this episode in the first place because I am calling out the Marcos regime at that time, Marcos Sr.'s regime. So if you allowed me to say these things during the Marcos regime, your station might be closed. And sorry, kung bakit nyo pa ako in-invite kung gano'n. Pero hindi, we live in a freer society where we can discuss our ideas head on without fear of being interfered by government. Although there are still some concerns, for example, like there are some journalists, like in your sector at Sara, I believe you would agree with me. You know, some radio commentators were killed because they spoke out against a politician, no? So may mga goons pa rin, no? Goons and guns that threatens freedom of the press. Pero we as the people, no? We as the people, as God's people, we have, again, as rational as we are, we should be rational. Thinking, not thinking like God, of course, because we're never God, But as God's creation, we're built in the image of God. Then we also have a rational mind, just like how God created the universe. There is order, there is logic, and all. So as His creation, what we can sentiments. Again, we have the right to redress, or to address, give our grievances. We should not stop speaking out. I think that's what we and as Christians as well, we should not stop speaking out the truth, speaking out the gospel, that Jesus Christ died on the cross to save us from sins, and He rose again on the third day. So we should not also stop saying that, so that many of our people will receive the gospel. And I believe that's what the DXAS stands for, is to go out and reach the gospel as far as it can, especially in the region, not only in the Philippines but in the Far East, where the gospel has not yet reached to many. So yun natin, I think this is where I end.
Gusto ko rin po yung yung sinabi nyo, kasi yung lesson din talaga dito, kahit sa usapin ng politika, kailangan natin to kumbaga ihihingi yung wisdom mula sa Panginoon. Lord, ano po ba ang gagawin ko?
Yes.
And kung ma-imagine lang natin, kung lahat tayo ay hihingi muna ng wisdom, ng karunungan sa Panginoon, alam natin anong gagawin. Kaya yung boses natin, pinaniniwalaan talaga din natin na yun yung magiging boses ng Panginoon. Kasi una tayo humingi. Kumbaga nag-consult tayo una sa Panginoon. Lord, ito po ang nangyayari ngayon sa amin. Grabe ang corruption, grabe itong mga pandaraya na ginagawa. Ano ang dapat namin gawin? Kaya mahalaga po na kahit sa usapin ng politika, uunahin natin ang Panginoon. Lord, ano po ang gusto niyong gawin namin? Dahil diyan natin masasabi ang boses ng karamihan ay ang boses din ng Panginoon. Tama po.
Correct, exactly. Tama kaya tayo. Kasi yun nga, sometimes, baka ibang boses na dun sa ang naririnig ng mga tao. Especially, we have so many false prophets these days. Pero I just like to add, kasi you mentioned that, there are some churches, unfortunately, na would discourage people to be involved in politics. Like, it's the world's it's the world's
separation of
way. It's worldly siya, worldly. So we should not be part of politics. We disagree. Because if we will allow or we will not be involved, then yung kalaban natin ang ma-involve. So the enemy will Satan's forces.
Dapat frontliner pa nga tayo, Basta
Exactly.
godly ways.
Yes, exactly. So again, calling out Christians there, my fellow Christians, my brothers and sisters in Christ, let us be more involved in politics by not only joining, like debating, discussing like this, but even running for office. If especially dapat those who are running for office should be a discipler and a disciple of Christ. I remember talking this to my friend Obed last time. Kaya nga corruption is so rampant because these leaders were not discipled. They don't fear the Lord. So how can we now make sure that to make this clear, that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, kumbaga in Proverbs. So yun natin, I believe na we should at least be involved in. Let's not fear politics, because again, government was made by God.
Yes, nalala ko, si David naman, Christian naman siya nung naging hari siya. Diba? May faith naman siya sa Panginoon. So, kumbaga, qualified naman din tayo. Pero yun nga lang, siguro sabihin natin, alam mo lang dapat saan ang calling mo. Kung dito ka sa loob ng simbahan or Kristiyano ka na dito ka tinatawag ng Panginoon para mag-rule sa ating government. Sir Rovic, maraming salamat po.
Thank you din.
Napakalinaw, napakabigat, napakapuno na
Hopefully.
na recall na ginawa niyo sa amin about EDSA. At syempre, magkikita pa po tayo sa Thursday dahil pag-uusapan naman natin ang Dia de Zamboanga at ang tungkol kay Artie Lim. Ayan, excited din ako dito. So muli, maraming salamat po Sir Rovic. Maraming salamat
sa ating mga tagapakinig.
Yes, maraming salamat din sa lahat ng ating mga tagapakinig sa ating radio technician, Kuya Romel Paulino. Susunod na po ang programang Serbisyong OFW, Family Matters at Radyo Sincauman. Magkarinigan po tayo muli bukas alas 7 ng umaga. At syempre ako po si Sara Mito Labing nagpapaalalang posible ang pagbangon at pagbabago. Tayo po ay maging bahagi ng solusyon ngayon. Sama-sama tayong umaksyon dahil oras na Zamba Sulta.
Inyong napakinggan ang programang Oras na Zambasulta. Para sa mga komento, mensahe o suhestyon, tumawag o mag-text sa 0916-296-6625 o sa 0998-844-1410.
This is your community radio, 1116 DXAS, communicating Christ in our world.
Kaya ang aking panalangin at ang aking imbitasyon na rin, abay, please like and share sa ating broadcast para po kayo ay makasama namin at maging